Hi, everyone, and welcome to a different kind of episode of Seal of Approval this week. Joining me this week is Scrump.
It's just me this week, I'm afraid. We've already delayed a day due to, well, actually a week and a day due to various busyness and circumstances. But we were supposed to have Dev on today, but he's been called away on something a bit urgent. So we're going to be he's going to be available next week, though. He said he did say he's 100% available next Thursday. It seems that Wednesday everyone's streaming or doing tabletop games or whatever.
That kind of makes it awkward because of the setup that we have. Between like myself and some of the other people in the, kind of like the unpopular opinions cinematic universe. Let me just share something just to show what I mean. I believe this is it. Right. So this is what the academic agent refers to as the cartel. So effectively, those of us who are in the cartel have a gentle persons, because they don't want to misgender anyone, agreement not to do competing streams with one another. So 8:30 on a Monday, Fake Accents Unite, which is Mark, not so obvious, show. Then you have Unpopular Opinions at 9 on a Tuesday. Then at Wednesday at 8 p.m, it's supposed to be Seal of Approval, but obviously that didn't happen this week. Followed by Tailed Features stream. Then Thursday, and this is why we're streaming at 7. So This Week in History with the Britisher is on at 9.
Oh, right. We could try a different day then. I'm not sure. Like I said, it might be. I'd love to have it on a regular day every week. It needs to be really, but Wednesday just is not an ideal day for guests, I'm afraid.
I know it's. Like I've kind of penciled myself into this slot.
Oh no, I didn't realize that everyone plays like D&D on a Wednesday.
Yeah,
like, there's 3 different groups that I know of.
It's the strangest thing. Like, I mean, I've been able to get people from kind of outside of. I would say like American guests generally haven't been too much of an issue, but it's when you kind of think about the core lot, like Sargon, V. Them boys, like
they're all playing D&D today.
Yeah, you kind of need to be lined up with them. But like we do still have, seeing as it is Seal of Approval, we do still have the Seals of News.
Yes, we do.
The Seals of News have bought some news, even though the panel is basically non-existent this week.
No,
I kind of feel sorry for the Seals.
It's fine. No, what we can do is, and what I've done in my Discord is, I've thought we could take some more audience questions this week.
Yes.
Along with super chats. Don't forget to give us super chats. And I do you have a Streamlabs set up at all, Rose? Because I know that doesn't even take as much of a cut.
And
that's why a lot of people use Streamlabs.
That is something that I might have to look at setting up. And super chats would be especially helpful for me at the moment, just to, like, I don't want it to kind of sound shilling in any way, but recently I've had to take a sabbatical from work due to my mental health. So I don't really have much of an income at the moment apart from YouTube and that kind of thing. And so I'm due to go back to work in a couple of months. But until then, if there's anything which, if you guys are able to super chat or support me on Patreon or anything like that, I know these are hard times. And please, like, if you can't afford it, please don't worry. Just support me in any way that you can by like sharing my content or liking and subscribing and all of that. But just wanted to, I do think it'll be good to kind of do a little bit of a Q&A because we haven't done that in a long time. I know, especially Scrump, you haven't done it on here, but I haven't done a Q&A since like October last year. I think it was. I did like I did like an off the cuff. Yeah, I did an off the cuff Q&A stream, and like a lot of people seem to like that, and especially because I've been dealing with a lot at the moment. Like, it might be quite good to, have some people ask questions and stuff. So yeah, I mean, the Seals of News are still there, blessing us with their glory.
With their sealitude, yes.
Yes.
They have an intangible quality of being a seal, which I think is good.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been incredibly busy over the last couple of weeks. Like I've officially moved out of London. Officially out of London
good
now.
on you.
Yes, and I have a car, and so I can actually drive and go places again.
Wonderful.
And it is the greatest feeling ever, the way that you can just kind of, just go wherever the hell you want and not be like, you're not kind of tied down to wherever TFL decides that you can go.
Which I know being in London, it's impossible to have a car, but no, my car's been off the road, and then actually my last car I've just sold because I didn't actually like it as much as I thought I was going to. But I'm looking at getting another one as soon as possible, basically.
Yeah.
Maybe something a bit faster this time, since I'm getting towards 30 and my insurance premiums keep going down, which is nice. So I might be able to get a good car this time. Yes, Londonistan. Good for you getting out of Londonistan.
Yes. I could drive you crazy. Thank you.
But I think we do have enough news to cover this week, and we both didn't have a lot to say, so it's with the audience questions, we're not going to struggle for time filling. I know that much.
Well, exactly. So, Scrump, do you want to pick a seal?
Since it's just me and you, I will pick a seal. There's been a lot of developments with Portland this week that I've been following.
Okay.
But a lot going on there, and some new developments today even as well. It's been a real roller coaster.
Like, I've been trying to keep on top of everything that's going on with Portland. The only things that I keep on seeing are people who are trying to firebomb the courthouse.
Well, that's kind of the focal point. The focal point has become the federal courthouse.
Yes,
and it's a real story of media clown showery that the media have set themselves up to fail again with Portland. It's been quite amazing. For those of you who don't know what's going on, I can give like a quick timeline, if that'd be useful. As those of you who do know what's going on will know, that Portland's been a hotbed of protest since at least 2017, if not earlier. But 2017, I think, is when things started to get really out of control. Portland is basically the home city of US Antifa at the moment. It's Portland and Seattle. It's the West Coast. I don't think California has quite as much as it, because they had a lot of problems back, like during the whole Milo tour days of Berkeley, and they kind of burnt themselves out a bit.
Yeah.
But within Portland itself, they have a lot of communist kind of activist types there. And ever since the George Floyd protest started, they've been intensifying their actions. It's not just the federal courthouse. They've been looting and attacking different buildings. There was a hilarious case not hilarious, it's kind of sad. Tim Pool recently highlighted about a guy who was very critical of Donald Trump's response to calling out the rioters, and then started reeing when his building was attacked.
Oh God, yes, I remember. Like, what was his name?
He was some radio host. I can't actually remember. We'll have to get that on the screen.
I'm gonna try. Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'll try and find him.
Yes, but the courthouse, the federal courthouse in Portland, is federal property, and therefore it is protected not by local PD, who have been basically allowing this to happen. It is protected by federal DHS agents because it's federal property, and they didn't roll over like local PD did. They decided to defend their building. They didn't want the protesters, rightfully so, to burn down a federal courthouse that's full of records. So they were rebuffing the protest quite harshly, and this intensified. They started to send more agents there because it was becoming more under attack, and then the media latched onto it.
Yeah,
the media said that Trump was using unlabeled, unidentifiable stormtroopers with unmarked cars, and playing, officers out of uniform is outrageous, even though detectives drive unmarked cars and don't wear uniforms, and have done since the dawn of the police agency. FBI agents don't tend to wear uniforms and they drive unmarked cars, but that's apparently those things don't exist. Even though clearly there's a great news story out there. I think it was the New York Times had it on there. I don't have it to hand right now, but it was, unidentifiable agents attack people in Portland. And underneath it is a picture of a DHS agent with a DHS DHS patch, and his identification number under it, very clearly visible.
Yeah, like the narrative just really irritates me, because after everything which we've seen happening over the last couple of months, there's no acknowledgement from the left that actually maybe some of these protesters aren't just peaceful protesters, no matter how often they like to say it. We've seen so much evidence of vandalism, of arson. We've seen, like, how many? What is the death toll at the moment? Last time I saw it was 28.
I think it's up to like 32 at the moment.
This is the thing. You've got all of this going on over the last couple of months, and there's absolutely no acknowledgement from them that this is happening. None at all. They're painting it purely as peaceful protest. And so when we have the police turning up and arresting people who were involved in this, and then they ask for our sympathy, we know that they're not telling the full story. Like,
here it is. I found it. It was New York Magazine. It wasn't New York Times. And the headline is "Unidentified Federal Agents Are Detaining Protesters in Portland." And the picture that they use is someone with a DHS pass and identification NZ39. So yeah, they are very clearly identified who they are. it's crazy.
Yeah. So hold on, let's see. Yeah. So you've got NZ39. You can see his face. Like, yeah. You know, if you're trying to go for like completely unidentifiable agents, like the fact that someone shows his face, he shows his tattoo. You know, all of these are signifiers of identifiers of a person. So this is not a unknown individual here. And yet, God, it is really frustrating. I think that they really are kind of playing the card too hard on this. And these are the same people who are then demanding that libertarians jump to their defense, because they're trying to pressure libertarians to, you know, use our morals on the situation. Be like, well, you support, you know, you're against the big government. Well, big government is stepping on us, and they're expecting us to not kind of look and think, why are they stepping on you? Why are they doing this?
They're not stepping on it. They're following normal. This is very normal procedure.
I know, but like, I'm using their language.
Yeah, they're trying to get people that they hate to defend them from an imaginary threat.
Yeah, which I refuse to do. Because it's not, like, I don't think it's the moral thing to do. We know full well that when the shoe is on the other foot, they will not come to our defense. They openly cheer on the state when they crack down on those that the hard left does not like. And I find it personally disgusting that they only seem to want to have narrative with anyone who's kind of on the side of freedom as soon as and only when they feel as though they are being targeted. Yes. The second that they think everything is okay, they will go back the way they were. Like, they have like, in all honesty, like, they want the kind of libertarians to kind of, you know, use our morals in every situation. You know, that our standard of, you know, being against a big government, being allowed to go out and protest. Although, you know, again, we're not stupid. We know that they're not just out there protesting about George Floyd, because this has gone way beyond George Floyd. It went way beyond George Floyd a few days after Floyd had been died. It's entirely about a revolution at this point. I mean, you listen to their rhetorics, and that's not something which we can support. And is it the moral thing? Is it the moral thing to openly support people who, the second that the heat kind of dies down from them, will go right back to the jugular, like to your jugular, and completely forget that you even help them? Because we know that's what the hard left is like. And to me, the answer is, well, no, it's not. It reminds me of that quote from Dune, you know, that when I'm weak, I will ask you for protection because that's related to your principles. When I'm strong, I'll take away your freedom because that's related to my principles. That, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. The entire thing that happens with the courthouse narrative is that they tried to reverse the chicken and egg. They pretended that the Portland violence only started when the federal agents were reinforced. which is completely backwards. The federal agents were reinforced because the courthouse was being attacked and has been being attacked since May. We're up to something like, what is it, like 58 days now? We're nearly up to the 60th day of continuous rioting in Portland.
Yes. But then Portland's been a hotbed for this for years.
Yes.
It's been a hotbed for years. I mean, like, it really came to my attention last year when Andy No was attacked. Like, you know, the day where they had, you know, there was those rumors that they had the milkshakes filled with concrete, although I don't know whether that was actually true or not. I'm going to guess it probably wasn't. Do you remember that?
The thing is, it was full of wet concrete, not dry concrete.
Okay.
It was meant to be a skin irritant. It was meant to, like, be corrosive on people's skin and eyes.
Oh, so that actually did happen?
Yeah, that did happen.
Shit. I honestly, I thought that was one of those things where people just might have got their wires crossed. I didn't realize that was actually...
No, it did happen. That did actually happen.
And so that makes this all the more ludicrous then, because if this has been happening for years now, like, why do they think their opponents are so stupid as to assume that they are all just peaceful protesters?
They're not. The things I don't think either side is as stupid as they seem to make themselves out to be. It's a reach. It's a gamble. And as we've seen today, they have essentially lost that gamble. Right. Well, to go on from what happened, there was this surge of federal agents. The media attacked them. The media sided with the rioters. And then the optics started to get bad because they were essentially bombing the building. They were firebombing the building. They were injuring officers. They were attacking other protesters.
Yeah.
They attacked the mayor when he went down there to join them. Ted Wheeler of Portland is a notorious cuck. But he, you know, I think got a bit scared off by what he put a brave face on it. But
that was beautiful. That was absolutely...
The media went whole hog, calling them stormtroopers, calling them Nazi soldiers, saying this is the start of a dictatorship. And then it didn't work. People realized what was going on. People saw that it was federal agents defending a federal building that was under constant attack. They tried the whole wall of moms thing. I'll try and get an image of that for you. It was the mom identifying people. They were just changing shirts. And then the same people changed shirts to be the wall of quote unquote veterans. And a bunch of those were outed as being stolen valor. That was really bad optics for them.
I self-identify as a mom.
Yeah, and then it's people who self-identify as veterans, which is
the veterans. Illegal. The veterans. Do you have confirmation on the guy who basically admitted to committing a war crime?
I heard. I don't have that to hand, but I did hear about that. Yes,
like that was amazing. So there was this one guy who said he was a veteran of the Vietnam War and was shouting at a load of I think it was like a load of officers, talking about how he gunned down 150 Vietnamese.
Yeah,
I was told to do it. So that was, I was like, I didn't question these orders. It's like, well, that is an insane argument to make against people who are just there to,
just following orders.
A riot. It's like it's just the difference between just following orders when you have people firebombing a courthouse every night and you gunning down 150 Vietnamese people.
Here's the wall of moms. PDX-based network of women's. They're one
always
of these refuses to say woman. Yeah, woman and non-binary mother-identifying folks.
PDX-based a network of woman and non-binary mother-identifying folks dedicated to supporting the current civil rights movement to end police brutality. Like, how many non-binary mother-identifying folks are there? Like, this is a clear, like, a kind of like this is not real. Like these are not normal moms. These are people using the mom aesthetic as like, oh, even the moms care about this issue. I mean, there was one of them who got interviewed by a news network. I remember her saying something along the lines of, well, I saw the the video of George Floyd, and he was calling out he's shouting like, "Help me, mama," and like, you know, and I'm a mom, and so he was talking to me. And I was thinking, like, she's the same age as George Floyd.
Yeah,
George Floyd is not, like, you know, George Floyd is not her son. If anything, George Floyd is older than her. So how is he speaking to her?
It's just they're just female Antifa members that they've put in yellow shirts, and a lot of them aren't even women. A lot of them.
Oh yes, they are.
They're self-ID people.
Yeah, but they're mother they identify as a mother. I mean, you don't actually have to have children to be a mother nowadays. You could just identify as a mother. And like, again, it would be a parody if these people didn't have 57.8 thousand followers. Let's have a look. I want to have a look at the Wall of Moms. I want to see what the Wall of Moms is like. Let's see if I'm able to get it. The Wall of Moms.
Well, there was the thing that embarrassed them most that came out was the fact that there was footage of the quote unquote moms assaulting officers and trying to pull down the fence and participating in the riot, which completely removed their case. Now they got caught. It was pretty funny.
Well, the Wall of Moms doesn't have anything on it except for some shoes.
Apparently,
that is literally their website.
Really?
Yep. Copyright the Wall of Moms.
Maybe it's unrelated. I don't know. It's very.
That is the website, which is on that Twitter account.
It looks like a place. It looks like they couldn't get a website built in time.
Yeah,
it's funny. Since
it is, especially nowadays when you can make a website in an hour.
Yeah, I can. You know, even if you've not got like a service, like WordPress is pretty easy to use. Like, like a WordPress page, my dude.
But yeah, the Wall of Moms is it's something which I do find incredibly cringe. Like, it is something which is a very cheap kind of heartstrings shot, if that makes sense. Like, it's clearly there to try and garner your sympathy when really it is just people wearing yellow t-shirts shouting that they are the moms.
Yeah, basically a lot of it is people who a lot of them were recognized as existing activists, a lot of them who don't even identify as female, which is funny.
Yes, but they do identify, they are mom identified. Right, let's see if I can play the video. I don't think it plays sound, but is the video coming through?
I can see it. Yeah, it is playing. It's a bit small, but
yeah. They've also got moms for dead cops.
Yeah, you get all kinds of there was all kinds of shit. Like they really tried to push this in the media. It didn't work. Their push failed, and basically on the 27th, they basically all decided to change narrative at the same time.
Yeah,
and a lot of it was because of this this article here by AP.
Let's see. Let me just bring that up.
Mike Balsamo of the Associated Press put out a tweet chain and very widely read article about his time inside the courthouse with the federal agents, finally acknowledging the fact that they were being attacked. And I have a lot of other examples I can get up as well, but basically only 3 days ago on the 27th, the narrative shifted from the protesters didn't do nothing, the federal agents are Nazis too. It's Trump's fault for putting all these poor federal agents in harm's way, and he's escalated these riots, and all the violence is his fault. But they're finally acknowledging the violence is going on.
Yeah,
they've essentially admitted they've lost their own propaganda war, which is funny. They set themselves up to fail. They started a propaganda war and then promptly lost it. It's been quite amazing to watch.
Oh god, it would be funnier if it wasn't all so tragic. Like, it's god damn it.
Well, with the rioting in general, There's been a lot of journalists arrested because they were participating, well, quote unquote journalists. A lot of people who are wearing press falsely to try and stop them from.
Yes, there was a man who, I think he kind of jumped over the fence and tried to pull it down and was shouting about how they can't arrest us all, and he's there like wearing like a press helmet.
Yes, I know it was pointed out by Andy. There was, I think it was Richmond police tried to blame the violence they were seeing there on white supremacists, and everyone who was arrested was identified as an existing activist, one of which was a journalist.
Is this the same list where they found like 13 of them were actually teachers?
No, I think this is a different list. I'm not sure. That was the people arrested in Oregon. This is Richmond, where the police tried to say that the rioting was instigated by white supremacists. They had no evidence of that, though.
No, but they've been saying that since May. They've been trying to. I don't think I've heard outside of directly the Republican Party. I don't think I've heard any U.S. officials mention the far left.
No, not really.
I'm trying to think. I'm genuinely trying to think, because I've heard a lot of them. I think the mayor of Minneapolis or one of these places did say that he that he was blaming the far right. So there's been a couple of them saying.
I linked it to on Discord as well. In Minneapolis, the police department was forced to put out a statement saying that the entire rioting was caused by this one man with an umbrella, who, if you remember, this was previously attributed to being a Minneapolis police officer. It was debunked. It was widely shared, but it was completely false. That was a narrative in social media around the time that the riots actually happened. I know we had Sophia Nowitz on. I think we covered it then, that this guy was falsely identified as a Minneapolis PD. They've then gone on to say that due to a single third-hand tip, if you read the tweet below, it says the intel came by email from an anonymous friend of a tipster, saying that he was a Hell's Angel and a white supremacist. But they have no actual evidence. They have a single tip from a friend of a friend that was anonymous, sent it by email.
Yeah, but it's a convenient narrative. That's literally all they need nowadays. It's just, well, it's, someone has said it might be a white supremacist. That we are the good people. The good people would not be burning down buildings. It must be the baddies. It must be, them sneaky white supremacists that seem to just pop up everywhere nowadays.
Well, the big thing that's been happening, like I said, if you watch, the narrative went from there is no violence to, well, there's violence, but there is no Antifa, to, well, there is Antifa, but they're the good guys, and Trump is a fascist. Now it's gone to Trump created the violence by sending the Homeland Security agents, and everyone is a victim of Trump. And it's now kind of moving in the direction that, oh, by the way, all of this was started by white supremacists. It's just, they can't pin down a narrative. And that's been their biggest failing. I really think they have lost the information war on this one.
It's going to be difficult to tell, though, because how many other publications, these kinds of publications only listen to other publications. And if you're not having people running a kind of counter narrative to all this, like how is there ever going to be a feel as to?
Well, the thing is, the counter narrative has been put out there. I know there's people like Fox News. It's mainly independent people, though. The counter narrative has got out there a lot on social media, and the counter narrative has got out there amongst people in what they're seeing in their own lives who live in these areas.
Yes.
It's really been kind of a word of mouth campaign against the media, and they've had to shift their narrative accordingly. I mean, if it wasn't working, they would never have shifted the narrative. They've had to acknowledge the violence, and as soon as they acknowledge the violence and admitted they lost the war, what's happened today and yesterday is that, well, first of all, Portland tried to fine the federal government for putting up a fence. This security fence to stop the rioters getting in. They're trying to fine them $500 every 15 minutes because apparently it's in a bike lane. You can't make this shit up.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Oh, did your internet die for a second?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like,
your square's gone blank.
Yeah, that's weird. Hold on, I don't know what the hell's going on here. I'll join and I'll drop out and come back in. There we go.
There we go. You are now you again.
I am really confused as to what happened there.
I think your internet dropped for a second there.
Anyway, you were in like mid-flow of a sentence, and then I rudely lost connection.
Oh no, I linked you on Discord again, but the city of Portland is trying to fine the federal government $500 every 15 minutes because they're saying that the fence to protect the courthouse from explosives was placed in a bike lane.
Let's have a look. So they owe $192,000 as of last Monday.
They're never going to be able to collect it. It's complete bullshit. They can show that they had to put it up as an emergency measure to protect a federal building. But
why are they so allergic to protecting their own stuff? Like they're running cover for people who despise them. Like,
and I think
how do they think that any of this is going to really win them votes?
Well, the Portland City Council is also stuffed full of like super far left candidates. Is the problem too? They've essentially taken over a lot of the city council apparatus, but they've really lost the information war on this one. They look like the enemies of law and order. They position themselves as the enemies of law and order, and they are not succeeding in trying to paint this as all being Trump's fault. Today we saw that develop. Yesterday they put out a false statement saying that they'd won and that the federal agents were withdrawing. That was countermanded. That was false. The federal agents aren't withdrawing. In fact, what's happened is that the Portland State Police, the Oregon State Police have agreed to protect the courthouse, and the federal agents are staying inside. The state of Oregon has essentially capitulated to Trump's demands, and they are sending back in state and local PD to protect the courthouse. As we can see here with, here's another Andy No again doing great reporting in Portland. You can see that the police presence hasn't gone down. It just federal agents have just been replaced with state police. But it's tricked the rioters into thinking that they've won because they said that they've won. So essentially, they've managed to de-escalate the existing rioting because a lot of the rioting that we saw, over the hysteria period about the federal Nazis was fueled by the media, purely fueled by the media. Yeah. And again, they massively miscalculated and handed the Trump administration a big win there.
Sorry, my mind just hit an instant blank. I have been trying to follow a lot of what's been happening in Portland. Just because it is also kind of surreal, really.
It's very surreal, yes. It's essentially an armed communist insurrection in a major city.
So, what do you think the eventual kind of end goal of this is going to be? Is Portland going to become more far left? Is this something which the actual people of Portland support, or has this just kind of been more entryism on behalf?
I think a lot of people have bought into the propaganda, but as their homes and businesses are destroyed, I think the support is waning among the actual population of Portland. I think this has been a real wake-up call to the fact that they have a massive problem and a section of their population who is willing to kill and destroy whatever they think they can to try and essentially strong-arm the government. Now, this has been a big loss for Portland's administration. I wouldn't be surprised if this cost the mayor an election, probably to another Democratic, more moderate candidate. But no, this has been a big loss, I think, for the far left in Portland in general. It might be maybe some start of de-escalation and sanity there, because they have, again, they've just overplayed their hand. They didn't have the authority they thought they did. What the other stuff that's been happening is that I think this has been a real wake-up call nationally. Again, a lot of people didn't realize quite how bad things have gotten. This makes the argument Trump made look a lot more sane and rational.
Yeah.
I also don't think federally they have the manpower to really do anything. The thing is, what they were trying to do is, I think what's happening is the Democrats are quite scared of an election. They're quite scared of local elections. They're quite, despite what the polls say, and despite Trump coming out today and taking a swipe at mail-in voting, because that's just an ongoing struggle, I think that they know internally that they're going to lose. So they're trying to get concessions violently rather than democratically, because they know that people would never vote for this, would never vote for any of it. And the activist base that's been fostered by a lot of these NGOs and outside organizations has gone a bit off reservation. They've gone a bit further than they thought. And at times they've tried to exploit that, like in Portland, they've tried to exploit the violence there to try and say that Trump's a dictator who's sending in federal stormtroopers. And when it didn't spread and when it became apparent that this was localized to a single courthouse that was under siege every night, like I said, you've seen it in the articles there, they really had to change tactic. And longer term, as this keeps happening, even though they have said that the federal troops have left, which I think they haven't, even though that they've said that they've left, they have been, I think, caught out by their own narrative now. That they have said, we won, we're calling a ceasefire, which is funny because it implies that the mayor and the city council in Portland controls the rioters and was fueling the riots. Again, that looks terrible. It looks like terrible optics. I can't believe how badly they've bungled this. Like I said, I think now they're doing a little victory dance about something that hasn't happened. But as people keep seeing the fact that state police are under attack from rioters, and nothing has materially changed, really, apart from smaller numbers, because a lot of people came out because the media told them to.
Yeah.
That is the only thing really that's changed. The courthouse is still under violent attack and is being protected by state police rather than federal agents. And that is, I think, the biggest red pill that could be dispensed to the population there, because it shows that the media was 100% full of shit.
I think kind of, like unrelated, but kind of related at the same time. Did you hear about the amount of police unions who have pulled out of defending of offering security to the Democratic conference?
Over 100, yes. Over 100.
Like that is incredible. Like,
well, the Democrats said they couldn't use any form of riot control there, so they just said, right, we can't police it then because there's going to be riots.
Which looking at they're looking at their platform over the last couple of months, like some of the most vocal Democrats have been people like AOC or Ilhan Omar, who are wanting the police to be completely dismantled. And then you might have Biden quietly saying, no, we don't really want to do that. But that's not what people are generally hearing. So right now, the Democrats are the party of, basically, they're the party that is against law and order. And they're running against Trump, who, yes, all he seems to do nowadays is just say law and order rather than actually push anything that means something. But I think the Democrats are in a lot more dangerous position because really they are associated with the rioting that's been going on. And it wouldn't surprise me if the police pulling out of the Democrat convention were aware of that and that influenced them.
I think it did. I think it's a very strong show that the police are extremely angry with what the Democrats are doing because they are capitulating to the abolish the police movement, the demonization of police, and essentially removing their safety. This might end up actually with the DNC either being scaled back or cancelled altogether due to security concerns, because I don't think anyone will police it. And if they hired private security, they wouldn't have the same training and the same equipment. So they couldn't do that anyway. We may end up in a case where the DNC, the conference itself, either doesn't take place or is evacuated due to rioting because the building's breached. That's a very real possibility here. Yeah, people don't like Joe Biden. People think the DNC doesn't go far enough, and they have essentially stoked the flames of the violent communists, but are now trying to reel it back in the mainstream with having people like John Kasich there from the Republican Party, who is he is not liked at all in his home state anymore. Essentially, he bungled his political career during the 2016 election. People don't like him, so I think he's making a play for the Democrats now. This is all going to go very badly because the corporate Democrats are not compatible with the communist rioters. No, they're not, and they have not made any concessions to them really. unless Joe Biden's running mate is someone like AOC.
Which I don't think never going to be.
It's not going to be. There's still rumors flying around about Hillary. I think it's going to be an absolute nobody. Personally,
I know loads of people are talking about Kamala Harris, but what they're referring to is just one of those articles that kind of a news publication would make in advance. Like, I can't remember what the term of it is, but
she was being vetted.
Yeah.
Which I think probably a bunch of people have been vetted.
Loads of people would have been. Yeah. Loads of people would have been vetted. I mean, I think part of me, I don't want to tempt fate by saying I want Hillary to be the running mate. I would, however, of all the potential running mates, that would be the most hilarious.
It'd be the funniest. I don't think it is going to be, but it has to be. The problem is if they choose an absolute nobody, the big concerns about Joe Biden dying in office are going to come back. If they choose someone who's a heavy hitter and overshadows, someone like Hillary Clinton, who possibly is like a quote unquote presidential candidate and tipping their hand that they know Joe Biden isn't healthy enough to do 8 years, it's going to basically cause concern of them shoehorning her in by proxy. So whatever they choose, I think they're a bit stuck because Biden's such a weak candidate.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of why I am half expecting it to be Clinton. I would also say Harris, and I keep on forgetting her name, but she was someone who said that she was governor of a state, but actually wasn't, which is the only thing that I know of her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rumors it's probably going to be a black or mixed woman, maybe.
I think now it almost assuredly will be.
The problem with someone like Kamala Harris is that she's both not radical enough for the far left, but she's also her antics in California make her despised by most moderates and kind of undecided voters. I think she would play badly with the voters that need to win. In the Rust Belt to win an election. She is the epitome of a California Democratic senator.
Can I just quickly? I'm not wishing Hillary on you. I'm not wishing Hillary on you. I'm just saying it would be really, really funny. It would be really, really funny if they ran with Hillary as the vice president. It wouldn't be funny if Biden won. It would, but just for the sheer audacity of how desperate Clinton is to become president by any means necessary, you've got to admit that would be quite funny.
Yeah. Oh, there's a super chat here.
There's a super chat. Oh, it's super chat. So Architect of Fate at $5. Governor Mayor Kate Brown sends in jackboot thugs to put down protesters in Portland. This is the narrative we need to make out of Portland.
Yeah, that's funny because they essentially have sent in their own police to essentially crush the protest, which is funny. Like I said, even though they're spinning it as a victory, this is a complete capitulation to the federal government. They've essentially had to surrender because they were losing the information war so badly. And again, their lies about this will backfire on them again.
I hope it does. It's always quite hard to get a bit of a read from what exactly is happening. I mean, the amount of stories that I've seen over the last 2 weeks saying, Trump is almost assuredly going to lose, when it just feels like 2016 all over again.
Yeah.
When they said that Trump was Trump was definitely going to lose and Hillary was basically a president in waiting. And that, of course, didn't happen. Another super chat. Miranda Sinistra, I think I said that right. The $5. Thank you. Apologies, I was joking about you wishing her on us. It would be funny, awful, but funny. It would be funny. It would be funny. I'm glad.
I've got a yes. I got a few questions here from my my Discord server.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I was thinking I could. I don't know. We've had a long discussion about Portland though, so we might have to.
We have, but the questions. If people want to ask questions, then you can type in a comment. You can send in a super chat. Questions.
Okay, I've got one here from Friedeek. How many licks does it take to get to the middle of a trap? And I will paraphrase Sargon here and say depends on the trap.
Oh God.
Griegeldorf, why are you Strump? I came up with a name years ago and got stuck with it. No one knows who I am if I changed my name, so I am Strump by accident and I got stuck with it. Wolfsteel, how thick him be? He be thick. Mega Mike, who is phone? Phone is you.
Wait, who is thick?
No, he said how thick him be, as in thick with 2 C's.
Yeah, but like who is he?
I don't know.
Thick boy.
Go Liver says, what happened to the USS Liberty in 1967? Nothing happened. Nothing happened. That's what Ben Shapiro told me. Zanzitska, did you know sugar prevents cement from setting? I actually didn't know that.
I didn't know
that. An actual serious question here, Cement Mixer. How much do / did pedophiles affect public acceptance of LGBT? I think every time it's raised and pushed, it makes people recoil. It's a really bad habit. A lot of activists seem to have, and then just stop doing it because it's going to cause a lot of trouble. I think it does actually affect public perception quite heavily.
I think a lot of it. I think it does, and I think that there isn't really a proper conversation on it. I don't think that people are kind of thinking through why are these subjects coming together rather than it just being shared deviancy in the eyes of the beholder, because that's kind of it. But there's a bit more to it than that, because a lot of this comes from queer theory, or at least the radical kind of queer ideology, which is about basically tearing down societal taboos on anything which is kind of considered sexual, and that includes, unfortunately, things like necrophilia and paedophilia. And so this is something which is pushed at the far corners of the queer movement. There are books that touch on these subjects and talk about how, in order to live in a fully queer, liberated society, these taboos need to be accepted. I'm reading through a book at the moment called Towards a Gay Communism, and I've been reading through it for ages because it's a slog. It's a really painful book to read. But they touch on it's fucking awful. But the author kind of like touches on a lot of Freudian topics on like the idea that like the young boy's first kind of sexual crush is his mother, and the daughter's first sexual crush is her father. These are very Freudian and topics, and so there is a connection with that kind of thinking. Then moves on to kind of almost taking it very, very literally, and that these things should be, because when we can live in a fully liberated society. And so this is why you see the likes of Peter Tatchell talking about it. But all too often when people hear LGBT and then pedophilia, they instantly think, well, I'm they get kind of scared by it, and it's understandable that they would. But these things need to be addressed because the radicals within the community will indeed push this, not your average gay guy. Your average gay guy wants nothing to do with it because your average gay guy is not a queer radical. But the ideology is kind of always kind of in the background, slinking along. And it does have to be kind of acknowledged if it is to be targeted, because otherwise you're going to see the rise of the so-called MAPs. You're going to get that because they will be allowed to thrive. I mean, there are indeed a lot of LGBT people who are disgusted by it and will kind of fight against it, but not at the kind of level that it really needs. Like there isn't quite that spotlight on there. We might talk about a gross individual, but not the people, the movement behind why it is because the way it is. I mean, that's where it needs to be combated. So it isn't just an acceptance that, well, because you are LGBT, next thing you know, we'll have pedophiles getting married. Like, it's just that these people are seeing a kind of a gap in the hole and are trying to go for it using queer ideology to push forward for it.
Yes.
I know that was a bit of a tangent on a question.
No, it's fine. No,
but it's something that I've always kind of wanted to answer properly, because it needs, this kind of stuff needs to be combated, because, you know, like, well, not only just about kind of like prejudice against LGBT people, but also stopping pedophiles.
Yeah. I got some more questions here from my Discord, and you've got some more super chats as well. So, super chats first.
Yes, so do super chat. So Matthew Ivy with the $10, thank you. Never surprised at how many people buy into a narrative. I once spent hours discussing the politics of Antifa, only for my parents to completely forget everything my next visit 1 week later because Trump's bad. Well, you know, Trump's bad.
A lot of people aren't able, I think, to hold the ideas in their head for a long time. Unfortunately, a lot of people, just because of their constant exposure to news media, aren't able to remember information that countermands the narrative, just because of being saturated in it. It's a big problem I found with older people. They don't. To be fair, they're the only people who still watch the news. I think the average audience for a news station now is 50. Like, the average age is 59.
Right.
Which is funny. But no, it is a problem. But yeah, it's just a case of trying to countermand it as often and as much as possible. Really, that's why it's important that a lot of these discussions and alternative media kind of organizations and personalities exist, because without it would be impossible. And that's why the censorship on social media and places like YouTube is so concerning, because it's really the last bastion of area that the narrative isn't completely homogeneic. So
yeah, as much as they're trying to make it into just that. But yeah. Anyway, let's bring up the seals of news.
Yes, more seals.
More seals, because the seals of news, you know, they have a lot of news.
They do have a lot of news this week.
And so actually the Portland seal has been. So now I'm going to quick. This is something which I was going to do a video on. But I kind of want to talk about it a little bit. So I put AA as one of the seals. Now,
that's Academic Agent, not the Automobile Association, by the way, or Alcoholics Anonymous.
No, that is my good friend, the Academic Agent. Now, the reason why I kind of have him on here, for those of you who don't follow him, AA is a good friend of mine. He is a he's kind of like very much like a classic liberal, kind of full free market capitalist, capitalism, that kind of thing. He regularly does a show called Unpopular Opinions, and it's something which, I've appeared on a lot. It was kind of like my start on streaming on YouTube. I mean, that was kind of where I got my start. And so, like, I consider AA a good friend. Now, some of you might have heard about this, but AA has a history of being doxxed by people who don't like him. And it had been reported to his employer, which was the university. Now, unfortunately, as a result of everything which has happened, AA actually lost his job. Now, I can't make any kind of comments as to what is exactly going to happen next, because that's not my that's not my business. But what I did kind of want to bring to people's attention and just kind of discuss is a particular petition, which I really think kind of shows how cancel culture has become the red guard, because this is genuinely terrifying. So it's hold university accountable for racism. Now, people who know AA, he doesn't really. He's not a racist. Like, let's just get that out of the way straight away. No, he's not in any way a racist.
He doesn't even run. Never mind race.
Yes.
Bad fun. But dad joke. Sorry, but yeah, no, he's not. We had him on here. We had him on stream a few weeks ago to discuss the femboy question.
Yes,
I thought it was very good, and I thought he was a bit confused. He got it in his slippers and his old man pipe into this subject he didn't know much about, and to be fair, he was willing to learn. But yeah, he's not, and he's not someone who's within the dreaded alt-right.
Yes, but he's still being kind of grouped with it. Now, this petition actually has removed his name from the list, which is good. Just don't want that to kind of be more open on there. Just to go through it, the University of Surrey was made aware that their staff member was engaging and producing white supremacist content since 2017, but despite knowing, was only fired in July 2020 when Black Lives Matter began trending. Multiple students had complained about online content, which the university quietly investigated, but still allowed him to teach during this time. By doing so, the university has placed multiple students of colour at risk due to allowing them in such close proximity to a man that encourages violence against black and brown students. The University of Surrey has been compliant with a white supremacist, and in doing so have become compliant. Now, two things there. First of all, AA has never encouraged violence against anyone. That is an incredibly serious accusation to make. It's one reason why I'm glad that they've kind of removed his name, because that is slander. Like, that is a false charge. But also calling him a white supremacist, like, AA's heritage is Iranian.
Yeah, he is. So it's odd.
It's an odd choice to say that an Iranian is a white supremacist. So the goals of this petition are a public apology. Like, bearing in mind the person who they hate has already lost his job. But that is not enough for these people. So first of all, they want a public apology from the university and from Bran Nichols, head of Literature and Language Department, stating full accountability. Then they want better recruitment procedures and safeguarding to avoid this happening again. Then they want a more accessible place to go about these issues instead of it being handled internally. Then they want a step-by-step of how they're going to amend the issue. Then they want AA off the list of staff and remove all his books from all the reading lists. Then they want more actions to be taken against AA to affect his future employment. Then they want more POC representation within the faculty. Then they want the university to contact other universities, demanding that AA's work be taken off their curriculum too. And finally, they want a public denouncement of him and his actions. Like, that is the cultural revolution in a step-by-step guide that these communists are following. Like, everything in this, it isn't enough for someone that they don't agree with to lose their job. They need to be publicly condemned. They need to be publicly disowned. They need to be erased. They need to have their work erased, any other kind of contact erased. He must have any employment opportunities taken away from him. They need to have further representation for people of colour, despite the person they're railing against being a person of colour. And they need further denouncements, and they also need to have a more kind of open trial. They don't want things to be dealt with internally. They want an open trial. And so I wanted to highlight this, not just because AA is my friend, but because I see a lot of people talking about how cancel culture doesn't exist. And when you see people talking about cancel culture who don't quite understand it, they will often mention things like, well, I've been blocked by, say, Toby Young, so I've been cancelled. When, like, that's not it. This right here, this is cancel culture in a nutshell. People disagreed with the academic agent. Not only did he lose his job, they are demanding that the university do all they can to erase AA from public life. And they're using that opportunity to make sure that in future they can have their own show trials. And they want more people who align with their views to take his place. This should scare everyone. I mean, this happened to a friend of mine. This could happen to anyone in any kind of career.
It can, and it's anyone who studies history knows about the. This is very Maoist. It's a struggle section, essentially.
Yes, it is. It's exactly a struggle section. I mean, these people are effectively the Red Guard.
They are, and this is, again, it's happened in universities. You know, it happened in universities in the 50s and 60s in quite a few places, but it's really come back and forth. It's a classic Maoist struggle session is what's going on here. It's not enough. That the academic leaders have to get down and prostrate themselves and essentially demolish the institution because one thing happened that these people disagree with. The only thing to do with this, though, is to take an extremely hard line against them, but they never will because, again, they've already sacked him. They've already capitulated, so they want them to capitulate harder. They already smell blood in the water. And this is what's going to ruin all our academic institutions, really. They're already a joke. A lot of people are already choosing not to go to university. A lot of employers are coming out and saying that university degrees from a lot of universities are worthless. In fact, I know they can't say it openly, but I know for a fact a lot of large employers see certain degrees from certain universities as an active detriment, and you are less employable with them. That is just the fact, especially the more activist-based universities.
Yes.
If you have even like hard science degrees from there are worthless because of the course material. They know the course content and they know who they can and can't hire.
Yeah.
Free piece of advice for anyone who's thinking of going into engineering: don't do any form of environmental engineering degree. It will never land you a decent job outside of maybe like government entities or the council. You will never get an actual private sector engineering job with most environmental engineering degrees. As a tangent, but like I said, all it's ruined the reputation of academia in general and specific institutions. It's in the long run going to cost them a lot more than keeping him on, I think. So
yeah, but I think the university is fairly dead anyway. I mean, like for the reasons that you suggested, the fact that so many people kind of go there because it's almost expected of you. It's almost expected that you go straight from high school. You know, you do sixth form. And then you go to university.
Having a university degree is not required for a lot of. They've had to lower requirements because of how bad the standard of candidates has been and how bad the qualifications are in certain industries. If you go and do a part-time qualification, something like a HND, that is now the minimum requirement for most even technical jobs. Most technical jobs now do not require you to have a degree, at all, especially in the UK.
Well, there's not many jobs that really even require you to have like a degree. Like one thing which I have been kind of considering at some point is to do a degree in journalism, but I keep on telling myself I don't need that in order to be a journalist. I mean, hell, my own YouTube channel is more of a CV than a degree ever would be.
Journalism degrees are also one of the biggest jokes. They are one of the most degraded, along with a lot of forms of like. Anything that's in the quote-unquote humanities has been essentially rendered worthless as a degree now. So that's definitely a thing. It's scary. Right. I'm sorry. I'm just going to answer a couple more questions here from my Discord.
Yeah.
Because a few people have posted them. Why don't my parents love me anymore? Because you touch yourself at night. That's why. What else have we got? People are asking me. Yes, there is still dumping with Scrum. Sorry, it's been a while since we've done one, but as you can see with this, Dev's been rather busy with a lot of stuff. So we're gonna do one when everything meshes up again. So don't worry about that. The show is still ongoing. What are your positions on the political impact of the Coronavirus Recovery Fund being passed in the EU, where Germany defected to fiscal Liberal Party from the fiscal Conservatives? That is something I have been following. I think the impacts is going to be, again, it's billed as the Coronavirus Recovery Fund, but it really is just it's more of a march towards the reintegration of Europe again. Well, the federalization of Europe, sorry, with the fact that a lot of this is meant to create a situation where all the European nations are reliant on the EU. I think encouraging countries to have a relief fund themselves would have been a better approach. And the Corona Recovery Fund is something to really attach a lot of the member states to the central bureaucracy of the Eurozone without them being access to the funds themselves. If they just gone, right, we're going to cut down contributions to the EU this year because you guys, need to hold so much currency in reserve. Instead, they've taken the money off people, and now they're trying to give it back to them, which again it's like governments over governments. I really don't like the federalization approach that they go with. But yeah, okay. Sorry, go on, Rose. I think
I've got some super chats as well. Matthew Ivy again with the $10. Thank you. My mother cried just because I'm not voting for Joe Biden. I didn't even endorse Trump. She sees the Dems as avenging saviors. I spent my drive home gaslighting myself into thinking I'm going crazy. Like,
a lot of people get far too into partisan politics.
Yeah, it's been a huge. It is like, I'm someone who's fascinated in politics, but the way in which kind of it's become more of a driving wedge in the last couple of years, that does drive me insane, because people are very willing to throw each other under the bus because the narrative is that, well, if you disagree with Biden, if you disagree with Remainers, you're evil. It's that kind of phrase. Like when you see your political opponents as evil, you no longer see them as being human, and you completely get rid of any kind of logical understanding as to why someone might disagree with you. But this seems to happen a lot, and it's actually quite terrifying.
Yes. Yeah, it is. The issue I have as well is people getting so emotional over specific political parties and politicians.
Yes.
Whereas anyone who studies politics at all knows that most of the established parties, both in the UK and US, have quite low quality at the moment. Historically, our leaders are very weak. I mean, I think Boris Johnson's a better alternative than someone like Jeremy Corbyn, but I also think he's a very flawed leader. And I think the current Conservative Party is an extremely flawed party. It's a party in transition. It's a party that doesn't quite know what it is. It's stuck between old and new ideas, and as a consequence, doesn't really do one thing particularly right.
Yeah, I think the Conservatives are just too bothered about staying in power rather than standing for something. And it's why I think that, honestly, they have genuinely disappointed me.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I voted for it.
Yeah, I can understand why someone would not want to vote for the Conservative. That's a very understandable position. It's just to say, if you are so impassioned, or not impassioned, really, that's it. If you are so indoctrinated into the party policy line that you become upset because someone won't vote for a particular politician, then you need to take a step back and realize that you're a zealot, and you are not basing your opinions on objective reality or facts. You are simply have become too emotionally invested in what you think is a solution. No one candidate is ever a solution, and people should be a lot more skeptical of things.
That's it. Politicians are human, and they come with their own flaws as well. You will never get anyone that you can put up as a leader you're going to agree with 100%. Hell, even the God Emperor himself, you're going to disagree with him a lot.
A lot of people do hugely, but the thing is that they can. What's happened is within party politics in the US is that open disagreements within the Republican Party have been allowed, and open disagreements within the Democratic Party have not, and that is what has really led to a lot of the toxicity on the left. It's the lack of dissent and lack of kind of having a broad church of opinion. But I think we should probably get to some more seals.
Yes, so let's bring up the seals. I think we'll probably have time for one more seal.
One more seal, yeah.
One more seal.
We have quite a few stories this week, but
so we have the Wiley seal and we have the Big Tech seal.
I think we could probably bash out Wiley and Big Tech pretty quickly, because they're not as expansive stories as the other two.
No, they're not. I mean, when it comes to Wiley, the thing that I kind of find fascinating is something which I brought up a couple of weeks ago, with the amount of big name black celebrities who are now kind of vocal supporters of Louis Farrakhan.
Yes,
like I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, when you're getting people like Housekeep, and like there's quite a few who are big supporters of him and believe that what he's saying and what he's doing is, aren't questioning it, when it's pretty radical. And now you can add Wiley to that. You can add Wiley to that list, and to an extent, you could also add the So Solid crew, or at least the person in charge of the So Solid crew Twitter account, who, after Wiley had kind of ranted about like Jews and all of that, like tweeted out saying, yes, So Solid's crew stands with Wiley.
Yeah, a lot of the UK quote unquote scene, which is become increasingly irrelevant, really. Grime's essentially over.
Grime is awful. I just want to put that out there. I really do not like grime music.
The mainstream stuff is really bad. Some of the beginning stuff, some of it at the start of the whole UK rap scene was actually pretty good. But that has all been lost in overly samey. Grime essentially became a meme a couple of years ago, and it's been dead as an actual, I guess, innovative hip hop force for longer than that. Grime really dates from like, remember Dizzy Rascal?
Yeah,
a lot of it dates from like the Dizzy Rascal days. It dates from a lot earlier in the 2000s. A lot of the stuff that became grime.
I mean, it's why I would kind of look at something like So Solid Crew.
Yeah. Well, So Solid Crew was kind of like they were a UK. They were never good. So Solid Crew was awful. Wasn't who was in So Solid Crew that became famous after that? And then
I don't remember. Like I do remember that they did the "Don't need no one, I don't need nobody, don't need no one."
I don't even.
That's the song of theirs that I like. I don't like 21 Seconds to Go. I think that
was a meme again. Again, that was like that has aged horrendous. If you want a good laugh, look at So Solid Crew's 21 Seconds. It's like a meme about how bad, especially London hip hop can be. So they weren't even good when they were popular. So Solid Crew. But it's amazing how much of the quote unquote scene has come out behind Wiley when his comments were so egregious. And it's there to hand, by the way, because I know the thing is he made a tirade on Twitter where he compared Jewish people to the Ku Klux Klan. But after that, he doubled down and he posted another rant on Facebook and Instagram, which got him removed from there as well.
Ah, right. I did see some of his videos on Instagram where he talked about how like he's basically saying Jewish people are snakes and for calling the police on him. Apparently, like he said something like 12 police officers turned up to his house. And like it's so kind of weird because it's like when it comes to Wiley, the only two songs of his that I know are like Wearing My Rolex and Rolex Sweep. So the only songs of Wiley that I know involve a Rolex watch.
He's quite an irrelevant. He's not even a very relevant rapper here in the UK.
No, I mean literally. I would genuinely say Rolex. Like I think it's what's it called? Like Wearing My Rolex is probably his biggest track.
And again, it's really, really generic aping stuff as well. It's really just it's a very pale imitation of a lot of the like the gangster rap of the early 2000s in the US.
Yeah,
that's what grime really devolved into. It's really low rent gangster rap with a London accent. A lot of it, and a lot of the US hip hop has moved towards like what people call like the lean era, where they talk about how many drugs they're on and how much they don't like how many drugs they're on now. It's kind of funny. I like the whole trajectory that goes, we deal drugs because we have to. Early 90s, like late 90s, early 2000s, we love dealing drugs. Like early 2000s, mid 2000s, we love how much money we make from dealing drugs. It's like mid 2000s to like late mid to like 2015. It's like, oh, look how many drugs we're on, and then now it's like, oh dear, we're on too many drugs.
That's actually quite a good description of rap.
It is. That's been the trajectory of mainstream hip hop.
Well, see, the way that I've always heard it was like, you had in the early 90s, we had things like NWA and, this Snoop Dogg and Tupac, where it was all talking about the ghetto and, how they're going to
how bad it is.
How they're going to get shot in the ghetto and how, the police are after them in the ghetto. But then, like, kind of at the mid to early 2000s, that the fortunes seem to have changed. And now, like, they're no longer just kind of scraping by in the ghetto. They're now living in mansions, and now they're like really, really rich. And then I kind of stopped listening to rap around 2005, 2006. I remember getting a 50 Cent album. I think it's called Curtis. and one of the songs is just like "I Get Money," which is really ironic because he's now been declared bankrupt.
That was tactical, actually. Anyone who thinks that he was actually bankrupt is he hasn't been following the story. It was a tactical bankruptcy to get around some paternity suits, actually. He just hid his money away. 50 Cent has very good lawyers. That's what that was about.
Oh, right. So he does have money.
Yes, he does. He has lots of money, but he pretends not to because people keep suing him for paternity.
Like I used to love like that kind of rap and like the late 90s, basically like 90s rap, early 2000s rap, and then when it just kind of became too much about the money, I was like, I can't relate to that. Like, not that I could relate to what's happening in the hood. I can't relate to what's happening in the ghettos of South Central Los Angeles, but I really can't relate to people from the hood who are also like multi-millionaires.
Yeah, well, like I said, the big two takeaways with the Wiley thing is that he doubled down. He didn't do like a Nick Cannon and immediately apologize and grovel. Yes. And he doubled down. He singled out like specific Jewish, like he had a weird rant about David Baddiel, which is kind of weird.
Why David Baddiel?
What's apparently he just said that he didn't like his comments on Twitter. That's kind of it.
Jesus Christ. I did hear that there was apparently an argument between David Baddiel and Ash Sarkar, where Ash was kind of not so much defending what Wiley's saying, but kind of saying to Baddiel, like, check your privilege. I haven't read it, but I did see a lot of reactions to it being like a lot of people seem to be really shocked that the hard left might be trying to, apologize, kind of play down anti-Semitism on their side. I mean, you had the Owen Jones article as well, where he talks a lot about the rise of the far right once again, but conveniently ignores how Wiley is pally with his good mate Magic Grandpa.
Yeah, Magic Grandpa. It's goddamn it. Oh God, I do love the whole Magic Grandpa thing.
I love it.
It's amazing that Wiley and a whole host of, I guess, the now irrelevant UK hip hop scene has come out to basically avow some repeated and extremely strong, anti-Jewish comments. Yeah. And they are, I don't think anyone even on like the very far right, I don't even think someone like Richard Spencer would make comments that were like this.
No.
This is like full mask off, just complete hatred. And it's interesting to see. It's interesting to see that the social media companies were forced to take action on this. It's also interesting to see how little has been made about people agreeing with this stuff. I think the left in the coming years is going to have to reckon with their own, breeding of bigotry and allowing of the, melanin magic, the stuff that they've been kind of getting on they've been getting on the gravy train with the Black Lives Matter stuff politically. Has a very, very, very strong under and overcurrent of anti-Semitism in it.
Oh yeah, I mean, their general belief is that the Israel belongs to the blacks because they are the true Israelites. Like, it's interesting seeing people responding to like Wiley's videos on Instagram with Palestinian flags, thinking like, oh yeah, he's one of us. And it's like, well, not quite. That's not quite what he is. But the left doesn't see themselves as kind of doing anything wrong here because the left doesn't believe that they are capable of any sort of prejudice. Like, they will always have a magic excuse as to why anti-Semitism is okay on their side. Whereas, looking at the kind of reaction from people like Ash Sarkar about Wiley, when he's saying like, oh, I tried to have a conversation with him. It's really sad that he's come out with these comments. Like, would she be saying that if Sargon?
Yeah. Well, anyone else, really. It's a real telling about the way they're debate. I think the thing is, though, that they can't hide it anymore. People really are seeing this now. And they're starting to think, why aren't these things equivalent? Again, there's been a lot of narrative busting in both the US and UK the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really all there is with Wiley. It's
just kind of highlighting for anti-Semitism on the left and also anti-Semitism within a lot of fairly high-profile black men. And I think that is something which, kind of Louis, a lot of them seem to listen to Louis Farrakhan, and I think that I think there is a bit of a conversation to kind of be had there, especially if you're having like a lot of the grime scene in the UK standing with Wiley on this. Like, why is this happening? Rather than just, just kind of ignoring it or whatever, actually look into this and thinking, why is this happening? Because it just seems to have been like Farrakhan has blown up since Black Lives Matter.
Again, though, it's a lot of his comments were also very anti-white, and those weren't really.
Oh yes. Oh, of course. I mean, it's like Nick Cannon.
It's an interesting dichotomy that the only thing we seem to be able to talk about is anti-Semitism, but
right. I get that, but at the same time, I would say that Wiley in particular has watching his videos, they were a majority.
They were. It was his as compared to the whole Nick Cannon thing. Nick Cannon's were actually mainly anti-white, but Wiley is very. It's very particular in that I'd say 90% of it there was anti-white stuff in there as well, but 90% of it was specifically anti-Semitic, which is this is really, we're only in July. This is only going to intensify, and as the election season comes up in the US, I think there's already a civil war going in within the left between the super far left communist struggle session people and the older guard of neolibs and even progressives who you'd think those people go too far. That is, again, we are having a civil war. The media has been taken over by activists, and people are noticing that more now. So it's we're heading towards a collapse. I think, like a UK style Corbyn collapse of the political left. I think in the US may take the same trajectory that the political left did in the UK. Because if you remember, before the UK election, there was all this hype about the Remain coalition and the fact that Remain had a much bigger voter base than Leave did now. And all these people had changed their minds, and that was pumped out and pumped out and pumped out. Just wasn't true. None of it was true. All went down the memory hole. So
I think that's what we need. We need a baptism of fire for the Democrat Party, and they need it. They really need it, because you need to have a decent opposition. I don't want there to be no opposition, but I think that I don't understand how someone could look at the way the Democrats have acted in the last 4 years and just think, like, oh, well, Trump has somehow been worse. That is something which I simply cannot see at all. I mean, Kavanaugh is just, that for me is the Democrats' lowest point.
It is. It really, and it didn't work. Again, it was a very...
Like everything they tried.
But the problem is with that is they kind of got away with it because it's largely been forgotten in the wake of all of this. But I think their only saving grace is, well, it's a two-edged sword. They make bigger political blunders that overshadow their other smaller political blunders, because this is the biggie. But what was our next news seal? Because I think we've just about got time for it.
Yes, so we got one last news seal, and I will be completely honest. I don't know a lot about big tech. However, you probably do know a lot about big tech.
Well, we can just briefly touch on what's been rumbling is, I know Trump has threatened to take away the safe harbor protections on the social media sites, which basically under a lot of the DMCA rules and a lot of the online copyright rules, that platforms can't be held responsible for what's put on them, but publishers can. Basically, what Trump is doing, and I think quite rightly, or at least saying he wants to do, is wanting to reclassify the platforms like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and all that as publishers, because they so heavily curate the content on them and who can be there. There's been another story today as well with Patreon. I guess they're part of big tech, that they have lost the second part of that lawsuit. They now they now have to pay arbitration, and I think a lot of larger content creators who've been banned from there, specifically for their ideological stances, are now moving towards doing a similar type of lawsuit. Because if tens of thousands of people can file for arbitration in California, which this decision now says that they can, it would probably take a second court case, but this gives it a lot of legal grounds. It would essentially bankrupt. Patreon has opened itself up to bankruptcy if Sargon's audience decides to en masse file for arbitration. Like, Sargon alone could probably, with this decision, bankrupt Patreon. So he's I think he's looking at his options currently. That's all I'll say.
You rely on Patreon.
What happened recently though was there was some hearings in Washington, and the heads of Facebook, Apple, Twitter and Google were hauled before a Senate hearing. I think it was a Senate hearing. Let me actually double check that, because I don't want to get anything wrong here. I know it was a congressional hearing, not a Senate hearing.
Right.
And it was a lot of it was conference call because of the Corona stuff. Jeff Bezos was there as well. The biggest problem, I think, was the fact that a lot of it is heading in the direction of that they're going to break up the tech companies. Like there are rumblings of antitrust stuff, which is well beyond time. It is more apparent than ever that Google, Facebook, and Amazon control the majority of data on the internet, like vast majority. Apple lags behind with their devices and locking down devices, but between them, you can really list them on one hand. It's Apple, Facebook, Google, Amazon, and to a lesser extent, I guess, services like Twitter. But Twitter's the small guy in the room with this. Twitter has not the audience, all the kind of tracking and data services that someone like a Facebook or a Google does. Because let's not forget, Facebook owns Instagram. Facebook has a lot of data services. Facebook has a lot of hosting stuff that they do. Like Amazon and Google especially control the majority of servers. Google Cloud is massive. Between Google Cloud and Cloudflare, you could basically take down most of the internet because a lot of it's at least routed through those services. I did watch some of the hearings. I've watched some of the raw footage. I skipped through some of the raw footage. I've also watched some good summaries because this was quite a long hearing and it was quite boring. My biggest problem with it, and then my biggest problem with people trying to grapple with the big tech stuff in general, is that a lot of the Congress people don't get it.
Yeah.
They are, it's very series of tubes out there still. Where in a lot of the questions, you could tell what they were going for, but they didn't quite land. They didn't quite land as big a punches as I thought they could have done, because I don't think they really understood the technical side of the issues they were talking about, which is a shame. It would have been a lot better, I think, if they'd had their own technical experts who were able to ask questions on their behalf. And they gave them categories and gave them the gist of what they wanted to say, and then they discuss it through them. But again, it's difficult for a 70-year-old senator to understand how ghost profiles and how data sets and data gathering and how Twitter suspensions, Twitter bans, blacklisting, trend suppression works. They don't understand any of this, really. Yeah. It's kind of beyond their remit. But I think the big takeaway for me was that possible antitrust is incoming. And the detail wasn't there, but the intent was with their questions. And the intent seems to show that there's actually probably bipartisan support for breaking up the big social media companies, because they become far, far too powerful, and everyone is beginning to recognize it belatedly.
Yeah. No, so I will be honest, I have not been paying attention a lot to the big tech. I've had a lot going on over the last week.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's really a continuation of the whole Trump threatening Twitter stuff.
Yeah. No, well, it's certainly kind of it's good to kind of get an idea of what's happening there. Like, I'm sorry, my brain has just turned into a potato all of a sudden.
It's okay. It's okay. We can talk about Irish news.
Irish news.
Sorry. Potato jokes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could still end up moving to Ireland. I'm hoping that I will.
That'd be cool. Ireland's nice. I think the only thing really to go through now is the. I do have some good news this week, though.
Good news. So right? So, is it this particular story? Let me just bring it up. The man with the mustache.
Oh, mustache man. Well, I've actually got two this week. There was two really nice stories this week. This was a big story. This was actually a mainstream story. I saw this quite a few different places. But a man who won the Powerball, basically he had a handshake agreement with a friend of his 28 years ago. That if either of them won the lottery, they'd split the jackpot. And 28 years later, he's honored his agreement, which I think is very wholesome and extremely, extremely good of him. And I do appreciate the mustache. That is a great mustache.
And the other story, I've got it on here. It's an actual website called like the Good News Network.
Well, the problem is a lot of it is fucking progressive bullshit about, teacher stands up to racism. And a lot of it is, I have to sift through that a lot. It's not actually a good source. Sometimes I'll just go through mainstream news and have to go through it, which is actually how I found the other story, the lottery story. Yeah. The second story I got this week is it follows on from one a couple of weeks ago that I did about cheetahs being successfully bred in captivity. We're seeing tiger populations surging in India, and they've discovered wild populations in Thailand where they thought that they weren't populations before. So they've located new populations, and existing populations are doing very well. So overall, big cat conservation is doing really well. Yeah, they are hoping to increase Thailand's tiger population by as much as 50% by 2022. So just 2 years. In 1973, India had just 9 tiger reserves, but today the nation has 50 reserves with a total of 2,000, like nearly 3,000 tigers. So they were very nearly hunted to extinction, but they seem to be coming back quite well, which is a very good story. The conservation efforts and people, putting in the work is helping. This is actual tangible environmentalism as opposed to what the politicking that goes on. But yes, tigers are cute. Big cats are great. They're a very vital part of the ecosystem as the apex predator, and this is very good news. Unironically, the planet is healing.
Yeah. So I've got 2 more super chats to read out. 30 to 50 feral hockey players with their $5. I'm livid about what's happening to AA. These types will not be happy until he's begging on the streets. Well, to be honest, they probably won't be happy until he's dead after begging on the streets for several months. Like they want the absolute worst life possible for their opponents. Like these are not good people. These are vindictive.
They're not doing their best.
No. And Miranda Sinistra, again with the $5, thank you. Happy to see you calling our God Emperor by his soon-to-be legal
name. That's pretty good.
All right, so now everyone, I don't have the hold on a second. I just seen this comment here. Portrait seal saying foxes are the cutest animal. I mean,
but what about seal?
You're betraying your fellow seals. Portrait seal. Like how can you Zent's 29, he has the right idea. Seals are the cutest. And it's like, yes, they are. So now it's time to show the seal of the week. Because there has to be a seal of the week, which is this little chap.
Sorry, just a little bit. He's cute. Sorry, he's cute.
But he's come with something to say. So what's he saying? He says socialism has failed 23 times, resulting in hundreds of millions of deaths. It will never advance because socialism requires blaming other parties for its own failings and retroactively disowns failed states as not real socialism.
Thank you, based seal.
He's a good seal, isn't he? Yeah, he's come with some helpful advice there. What is seals? Seals are part of the master race of seals.
He also says so are foxes, which is apparently foxes are honorary seals now. I'm not sure about this one.
A few months back before I moved away from London, I remember there was a fox screaming outside my flat one night, and it turned out to just be standing on this bush, across from my flat. It wasn't kind of carefully perched or anything. It kind of felt like it was in a video game and someone had just kind of left a fox asset on the wall.
All right, that's weird.
It was so weird. It was just kind of stood there, perfectly screaming. But now I think that now I know there's only been 2 of us. Vote in to see who gets the seal of approval between me and Scrump.
Yeah, it'll be a lesser one. It'll be a mini one this week. So a mini.
It'll be a mini seal.
A mini seal of approval, but Yeah, hopefully. Well, next week I'm going to hold him to it. Dev said he'd come on. So we'll definitely have Dev on next week. We promise. I will hold him to that because he's being a big gay boomer right now.
We were hoping to get Sargon on as well.
He's busy. To be fair, I did tap him as an emergency guest, but he is busy. I'll try and get him on at some point. Again, he's quite a hard man to pin down because he's very busy. But at some point in the future, we'll probably have Sargon on. But next week we'll definitely have Devo himself, the short's fattest otaku.
So we'll probably be doing it on a Thursday again at 7. So far we saw Rose.
I thought you did well. Well, you did do well this week. So
thank you.
We can probably call it. I'd say we can call that for you.
So in that case, I get the seal of approval.
I love that. That's so great.
So, I want to thank Lizzie for this. So she made me a couple of different seals of approval last week, and this is going to be moving forward. This is going to be the official logo of seal of approval.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I love it. I absolutely love it, and it's going to be it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be the true seal of approval. It's going to be awesome. So just before we go, just a couple of kind of general housekeeping-y thingy whatever. I know that I missed Trans Stupid last Tuesday. There was several reasons for that. I was using my dad's camera, which is a DSLR. I've just ordered a DSLR of my own, but I used his. The sound quality out of it wasn't very good. And also during editing, I noticed that I didn't look pleasant. Let's just say. So that is now officially a lost episode of a
lost. It's mythical now. The lost episode of
that is. As in, it has actually been fully edited, completely with everything in it. But it will be. That is something which is going to kind of be like almost like a special bonus in a couple of months' time or something like that. That would get a very, very limited.
So very quickly, just what were the Trans Stupid stories then that you're going to?
So the Trans Stupid stories that were covered in it were the World Rugby banning trans women from very likely banning trans women from entering in rugby tournaments worldwide. I just noticed that Scrump has weirdly disappeared. Then there was, the reason why I wanted to talk about that is because it's very interesting that Cardiff Lions, a gay and inclusive club, say that trans women can't play rugby, but then, they could always come and join the inclusive club. Then there was a story which I'm probably going to cover in a video because I do really want to talk about it more, which was an article written by a non-binary man on how transitioning is transphobic.
Oh, God. Okay. Yeah, that probably deserves its own whole video.
Yeah. And finally, there was, I talked about Elon Musk.
Okay.
Because he triggered a lot of people. Simply by saying pronouns are stupid, and the amount of the amount of publications that ran news stories on it when literally all he said was pronouns are stupid. It's really, really weird. Anyway, Scrump, do you have anything to shill?
All I will really shill is the fact that I'm still on Parler. I'm still 50-50 about Parler. It's not an ideal platform, but I'm there. I've started an Instagram. I am at @real_scrumpmonkey. We'll see how long I last there. I post there sporadically. Don't expect me to post every day, but I'll generally dump like 5 or 6 memes at a time. So look out for meme dumps there, but I'm not sure how long I'll last. And lastly, if you want to go over to the Short Fat Attacker channel, I still do Dump It with Scrump. And I had an episode for a few weeks due to scheduling issues, but we do have the relaunched Short Fat Attacker Minecraft server if you want to come and play Minecraft. And I am on there at the moment pretty much every day sorting out mod stuff because I'm one of the mods over there. So yeah, follow me on Parler. Check out my Instagram if you have Instagram, even though it's not particularly... It is active, but I'm not sure as a platform how well it fits. me and my posting style, and I am playing Minecraft currently. So.
So I am going to try and get some more videos out soon. There will definitely be a Trans Stupid this coming Tuesday. I promise. Hell or high water, it will happen. Otherwise, there's one last super chat with Mitch with the £2. Return to Monkey.
Oh, it's the the de-evolved version of Return to Tradition.
Yeah.
It's people saying embrace Monkey. Yeah, Return to Monkey. Even though every time people say Monkey like that, it reminds me of the PG
Johnny Vegas.
With Johnny Vegas. Yeah.
Who I still maintain is a real paragon of like advertising mascots, because he moved between two brands.
Yes.
And it's not often you see an advertising mascot do that. Anyway, Love Angel, who I've been meaning to ask, who is AA? AA is Academic Agent. Let's just see some more things on here. Shout out to Rose if Discord. It's Miss Rivers, by the way. Hey.
Oh, cool. Hello.
Yep. So anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in. I do apologize that there weren't any guests this week. Next week there will be guests. There will be. Guests.
We'll have Short Fat Taco / Dev at least. So
yes, we will make sure that we will deliver guests. But I hope you've enjoyed this personal, very personal episode of Seal of Approval.
Yes, very
personal. But thank you all for tuning in. And
thank you for the questions as well. People from the Discord and the super chats always help.
Yes, thank you everyone who sent in super chats. They're really helpful at this time. And I will try and get video out for next. There'll be a new Trans Stupid next Tuesday. There'll be other content coming soon. Thank you all again. I'll see you all next time.
Bye.